All right. Next subject matter. This speaks to a lot of what I've said about the indoctrination camps y'all call public schools, as well as the higher education system, most of which are public or considered public, and what they sort of promote and what these knothead kids of y'all's, why y'all would send them there, I don't know. I know it's a little different with higher education because they become adults at 18. But for the other stuff, I can't excuse y'all for. Why y'all dropping them off in these indoctrination camps? Hey, y'all business, I guess. But what this says, we'll get to that subject here in a little bit. But what this says, if you're listening to the audio, 65% of college students, according to a poll, of course, doesn't mean literally 65% of college students, say rioting and looting is justified. Let me continue on. According to ABC News, at least 30 police officers have been injured in violent unrest, while dozens of people have been arrested for rioting and vandalism. So you all know that. You know the situation that's going on in Philadelphia. We've discussed this on many occasions. Many occasions. So I'm not going to go into greater detail or the greatest of details about a lot of this. The outbreak of mass rioting, and obviously I'm reading from a FEE, Foundation for Economic Education article. The outbreak of mass rioting and looting across America is alarming in its own right, but equally chilling is the public support for the violence. As first reported by the Washington Examiner, Paul Bedard, I don't know. A new poll finds that college students in particular overwhelmingly believe that rioting and looting is justified. The poll was conducted by McLaughlin and Associate in conjunction with Yale University's conservative William F. Buckley program. It surveyed a nationally representative sample of 800 college students on a wide array of issues from coronavirus to race in America. One key finding from the poll was that 64% of college students agreed that the recent rioting and looting is justified to some degree. Only 28% disagreed with this assessment. And as you can see, the image from McLaughlin and Associates, it says 64% agreed, and this ranges. The question being, it says, due to systemic racism, systemic, that old term, in our country, and the countless number of black Americans who have been wrongfully targeted and murdered by the police officers, the recent rioting and looting is justified to some degree. So, something needs to change, and we need to draw attention to this problem by whatever means necessary. That's the statement, rather, as opposed to the question. And obviously, it ranges from agree strongly to unsure or whatever, or disagree strongly and what have you. Only 28% just absolutely disagreed, and 8% were unsure, but 64 just agreed, and 33. So actually, it was 33% that strongly seemed to agree. So more than that, even just flat out disagreed. So it's insane. But what it does, it goes to show the type of crap that we're dealing with. And obviously, politicians, particularly the Democratic Party and its members, understand, because that's the base they're trying to utilize as their rather useful idiots. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, this is the system that y'all wanted. Unfortunately, these people get to vote. And these folks, they realize, the politicians that is, they realize that if they can appeal to this base, they will maybe support them. So that's why they excuse their bad behavior. So when it comes, people come riot and stuff, you have the Marianne Williamson or whatever her last name is of the world saying stupid stuff like, well, you care more about, and this is the same old thing that a lot of other fools say, you care more about lives than you do, or care more about property, than you do lives. That's sort of how they frame it to try to guilt you into saying, okay, looting, or not saying rather looting and stuff is bad. rioting is bad. These young knuckleheads, that's what they believe. Now you have to wonder where they get that crap from, because I would hope y'all not teaching y'all's not head kids that. But some of these are y'all not head kids at these colleges. Y'all not head kids. And so you wonder why it's all of these professors who could come out publicly and say similar things. Who y'all think they picking this stuff up from, bros? Why do you think the teachers unions, even when it comes before they get to these particular indoctrination camps from K through 12, they were going through these other indoctrination camps? What do y'all think they picking up this culture from? And then seemingly so, you get these teachers who funnel this garbage and they basically say, well, if you want to be successful, you got to go to the next level. Right? And then they hand them off. It's like a trade-off, right? One indoctrination camp. And then you graduate to the new indoctrination camp called university. And then you learn some more garbage, even more garbage, right? They're a little more on the nose, a little more in your face at the university. That's what we're dealing with. Why do you think the professors, you see them on Twitter? I guess that's the silver lining of Twitter, as much of a crap show that can be, is that a lot of blue check marks get to tell on themselves. Whereas you maybe had to interview someone, you had to be a part of the class before you really picked up on these guys' thoughts. Now they just tell you that, and you can verify that it's them because they tweeted it. I guess that's the positive thing that has come from Twitter, is that all of these Marxist professors, or just leftist professors, they're telling on themselves and they authorize this bad behavior. They'll justify, they'll excuse it. Why do y'all take y'all's kids to these places? They don't understand, but they will vote, unfortunately, to a party that will say, hey, it's okay. You guys are just lashing out, right? When you go steal sneakers from Foot Locker, that's because you're oh so oppressed and you're so distraught. And you want just to be your voice to be heard. So you go and rob Foot Locker. You go and burn down the Wendy's because you're just so emotionally distraught at the injustice that Black Americans face. Of course, anybody that's not a fucking retard understands that that's a bunch of nonsense. But unfortunately, they actually believe it. And there's people that are in leadership position, societal leadership position, that are telling them that it's okay for them to have those particular views. If anything, they're teaching them to have those particular views. Now, of course, rioting and looting is something that is bad no matter what reason it is. I don't care about we did the videos, right? You had everybody would think that the founders were racist, right? Everybody, all of these leftists, they'll talk bad. They tearing down their statues and stuff. But all of a sudden they became Tea Party members when they could try to utilize history to say, well, look at the Boston Tea Party. I did a whole video dedicated. These guys have absolutely no idea what happened. Boston Tea Party, ironically, was one of the most precise forms of, if you were to say protest, that has ever existed among, let's say history, right? Definitely in American history. One of the most precise. They got in, got out, did what they needed to do. And that was obviously to protest this tax and the tea and so forth. Obviously there was cronyism involved, in the company that was directly involved, they went straight to that company and dumped their tea. Right? They even had the ship that really had nothing to do with it. They had enough sense to even clean the damn ship up. Like, hey, my bad. This is kind of like just what we're doing. It was one of the most precise, right? All right. Tea company is the reason why this tax or tariff rather exists, right? That's who they're trying to fund, rather, or trying to more so is cronyism. We did a whole video dedicated to this. That's who they're trying. That's what they're doing this for. Okay, let's go particularly target them. They didn't go burn their neighbor's house down. Right? But more so speaking, it's like the Christianity thing, right? Where you get these diehard atheists who generally would think Christians are the worst people in the world. Again, I don't know if Marianne Williamson or whatever her name is, or if she's like that. But there's a lot of folks who will be like, well, that's not what Jesus would do. Any other time they telling you a crazy person for believing in Jesus Christ. Any other time, that's what they say. But when they could justify their bad behavior or attempt to, even obviously it's always a misinterpretation of the gospel anyway. But they'll be like, well, Jesus said this, and you're not very Christian because you believe that. Like any other time, it's the same thing. Same damn thing. But these knothead kids of y'all's going to these indoctrination camps, learning this buffoonery, y'all need to take them out. I mean, again, I know it's harder with the colleges, at least with the public education system. Y'all can do something about that. You wonder why the teachers unions and all of that are like right there with the Democratic Party for the most part. Like y'all just dropping y'all's kids off of these oversized daycare. God, stop it. But on a serious note, ending the segment with this: looting and rioting are objectively bad, and they're always bad. It doesn't even matter if your voice was to be heard because of that. It's an objectively bad thing. You're hurting an innocent party. And that's not how you deal with that. That's not how rational people deal with problems. They don't get done wrongfully. And first of all, it's not generally y'all. Y'all's fighting on somebody's behalf that you didn't even personally know for the most part. And for the most part, when it comes to the opportunistic jackwagons that loot, rob anyway, they don't even care. It's just that y'all can't control this posse of people that have realized that, well, they'll justify our bad behavior, so we might as well use their movement to do bad things and rob and steal and burn things down because reasons, right? Rational people don't act like that. You're acting like, actually, I would argue toddlers have more sense than that. I would compare it to a toddler, but to be fair, I think the toddlers have more sense. Stop doing that. It's bad, objectively speaking, and that's the end of the argument.